Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Two Awesome Men, and we just saw the new movie, Lego Movie 2, the second part.
Yeah, this movie is directed by Mike Mitchell, who also directed the famous Sky High. So
Yeah.
that's a great thing to know.
I completely forgot about that movie. But this movie stars Chris Pratt, Elizabeth Banks, Will Arnett, and Tiffany Haddish. Now, when it comes to this movie, I think the first one was one of the more surprising movies I've seen in some time. Mm-hmm. It's a movie which, ever since that movie in 21 Jump Street, it's kind of the movie where you realize Phil Lord, and Christopher Miller really just know how to grab bad ideas and make them into really good movies. I feel like these are people who probably could have just hopped on Emoji Movie, right, and just made a good movie out of it.
I really want them to do the Funko movie that's coming out.
Oh yeah, they really should do the Funko movie.
Yeah.
Because they're just these great people. I mean, you have this movie, you have 21 Jump Street, 22 Jump Street, this new Lego movie is today, and you have the Spider-Man into the Spider-Verse movie. And so these directors are just really good at getting bad ideas and making really good movies out of them. In this movie, I don't want to say that it's any different at all. It's definitely not as good as the first one. I do want to put that out right away, which I don't think anybody was expecting it to be. Because the first one was just such a really good movie for no reason.
Yeah, all. Overall, it's a pretty great movie.
Yeah.
And I will say, this movie, like you said, I wasn't expecting it to be better than the first one. And going into the beginning, it kind of felt just like a sequel that they made just because the first one was so successful.
Yeah.
And the jokes that they try to make and the comedy that they try to do, it just seemed like they tried to make it similar to the first movie, but it just didn't really feel as great as the first one. It didn't feel like it landed as great as the first one.
Yeah.
But then I will say, as the movie went on, and especially the ending, I loved the ending, but it got a lot better.
Yeah, and like you said, some of the jokes didn't hit a lot, but the jokes that did worked really well.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
The thing I like about the movies like this is when it comes to these directors is these movies the Batman Lego movie, which I don't think they made that.
Yeah.
But it's kind of reminds me of that, where not all the jokes hit, but overall the movie's just really enjoyable.
Yeah. And I will definitely say it's better than the Ninjago movie.
I never saw that.
Which honestly, the beginning of this movie honestly did remind me of the Ninjago movie, because the Ninjago movie definitely the whole movie felt like it was just trying to be the Lego movie.
Yeah.
And trying to do the same type of humor and all that, and just didn't feel the same way at all. And the beginning of this movie felt that way too.
Yeah, and that's what really makes me happy about this movie. Is that like you said, the beginning feels like that, but after you watch it, you realize they're actually just trying to make another movie.
Right.
I mean, it's obviously a sequel, and they're trying to make a sequel, but it does feel like a movie on its own once you watch the entire thing. I'm going to say some spoilers about the first one if you haven't seen the first one. In the first one, you find out that Will Ferrell works for a company, and he's trying to make a scale of something with Legos, and he's trying to glue them to the set so that his son, and he's trying to make it to his son, can't play with the Legos. And so that's what happens at the end of the first one. And so it's making this, it creates a really cool little message there too. And so watching this movie, I'll say that because of what you know about this world and how it's kind of actually like a Lego set, I will say that it does become a little predictable at times. And to me, that kind of messed up a little bit of my experience from it. Not completely, and that is a little thing, because whenever it comes to kids movies, I don't want to act like predictability is really a huge issue when it comes to kids movies, But I will say that if you go into this movie, it may be pretty predictable what's happening, because you do understand this world because of the first movie.
Yeah, and I will say, I can see where you can say that. Me personally, I didn't really think too much about that. I mean, thinking back now, I can see how it can be pretty predictable, and I probably should have predicted it since I'm a grown man. But I wasn't really thinking about it too much when I was watching it, and it was just enjoyable to me.
Which is probably better. I probably shouldn't have thought about it while I was watching it. It's just something that kind of hit me through it. It's not like I was thinking about it either. It just kind of hit me. And like I said, it doesn't really ruin any experience for you. I don't really know. It's not really even that big of a complaint, like at all. I'm probably not going to even take off any points for it. It's just something I do want to bring out.
And mentioning Will Ferrell, it's kind of funny, his character, because I feel like they didn't really want to pay him to be like in the entire movie.
Oh yeah,
because like his Lego character, they had him like disappear at the very beginning of the movie, and then his human character, like whenever he said anything, he wasn't in the shot.
Yeah,
it's like they had him record his lines on the phone or something.
And like one thing I do want to say is when I brought up about the comedy, how I liked it. I do actually want to add on to that and say that sometimes the comedy was pretty genius. I loved the Rex character. That was practically just supposed to be like a joke character of Chris Pratt.
Yeah. Like all the things that he says he does were like different Chris Pratt roles.
Yeah, even Chris Pratt's actual character, Emmett, it almost feels like Chris Pratt in general.
Oh, yeah.
So it's just like you had like almost two Chris Pratt characters, like one his actual self and the other one like all of his movie selves.
Right.
You know? And so one thing I loved about these Lego movies, including the first one, is just the specific jokes that they have. And I don't really know how to explain what I mean by specific jokes. But like just how how weird the comedy is at times. They kind of go into detail with their jokes that they don't need to go into detail with. And that's one of my favorite types of jokes, you know? Hopefully you understand what I'm talking about.
And also something you mentioned earlier is the ending, which I'm not going to say any spoilers or anything, but similar to the first movie, how the ending was kind of sentimental, but it wasn't like in your face kind of sentimental. It fit into the story. I also like the ending of this one. I love
the ending of it.
And the message behind what the whole plot was about.
Well, guys, overall, this movie was actually really good. It was a lot better. It was a lot better than I was expecting it to be. Rotten Tomatoes scores aside, I didn't really think this was the kind of movie that you could make a sequel out of and still be good, but it was. And like we said, it had like a lot of issues to it, but it still was a really extremely fun movie, a pretty well written movie, a great story, a great cast, and some really good jokes. Whenever they're good, they were really good jokes.
Yeah, and going into this movie, having loved the first one, it was kind of scary to see if they would be able to have a sequel that was as good as the first one. And I will say there were some bumps in the road watching it, but overall, it still was a pretty solid movie, or a solid sequel to the first one.
And like overall, like I just want to say that probably some of the biggest issues is the fact that a lot of the jokes didn't completely hit. Mm-hmm. None of the jokes were horrible. None of the jokes are cringy. The jokes just didn't hit as much as I think they were hoping they would be. But the jokes that did hit really well. We're going to say that the Lego Movie 2, the second part, is 80% awesome. Well, guys, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Also, comment and let us know what you thought about this movie. Maybe even tell us what your number one movie is out of the three main Lego movies: Lego Movie, Lego Batman, Lego Movie 2.
Well, Ninjago is kind of up there too.
Yeah. If you want to put that one in there too, go ahead. If you want to put any of these kind of movies, go ahead. That's fine.
And don't forget to follow us on social media. We have a Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, all at 2 Awesome Men.
And as always, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see us later.